The Tomorrow People podcast is recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation.
First Nations people have been sharing stories and wisdom for tens of thousands of years, and we hope to honour that tradition on this show.
We'd love to give a massive shout out to all the First Nations people listening.
This was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Just a heads up that this episode may include themes that some may find confronting, so please take care when listening.
Tomorrow People Podcast.
Hi, I'm Ryder.
And I'm Paige. Our guest today is Gina Martin. Gina is a trailblazing activist, author, facilitator, and gender equality campaigner, best known for spearheading the movement that made upskirting illegal in England and Wales, with 3 EU countries following suit. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Thanks for being here.
Excited.
Before we get into this, just like to start in a casual way. You haven't been in Australia for that long. What are things you find weird about Australia?
I try not to say this in public.
That's exactly what we want to hear.
Yeah, I find drive-through bottle shops wild. I think that's mental.
They don't have them in the UK?
No, because you're not allowed to drink and drive, so why would you have a drive-through bottle shop? I think that's unbelievable.
True. I've never thought about that before.
When I told my parents that, they didn't believe that was true until they came and saw it.
Wow.
I think...
I also love that that's
The way
your
the
first
Paige-
thing.
I just think that's wild.
What about the way that Paige just said true? Is that like...
I like that.
Is that Aussie?
There's loads of Aussie little words and phrases that I love that I've tried to adopt, but when I say them, they sound really silly
Like
because of
what?
my accent. Well, like, I don't know, whenever you ask an Australian person to do anything, they'll just be like, yeah, too easy, or like, no worries. Everything's just like so like free and like, yeah, God, vibes, like who even cares? And when I go like too easy, it just sounds like really British, and there's loads of things like that.
How do you feel about yeah, nah?
Oh, I didn't get that for a while, but I now understand it's just the last one is the real one.
Okay.
So if you go like, yeah, nah, then it means no. But if you go like, nah, yeah, then that's like, yeah, maybe. I understand that now. There's a few things. I don't understand the coffee shops closing at lunchtime thing. That really upsets me, because in the UK you can go and have coffee until sort of 7 p.m. You could sit in a cafe at nighttime in winter, and that's lovely. So you can work all the way through the day in a coffee shop.
Amazing.
And also the green man and the green light coming on at the same time for cars.
The green man and the green light
'Cause
coming
I'm
on
in
at
the
the
car
same time.
Because
So
in
you're
England,
crossing.
it goes red when the
yeah.
pedestrians cross, so that you know not to run them over.
Yes.
But here it goes green, the light goes green, so you go like, I can go, no way. And that's, when I was learning to drive, I found that really hard.
Your here just then was very Aussie. You go here.
You did.
I do, my accent is actually like, you guys say beer, I say beer here, but I've started changing the inflection of my voice. I've noticed that since I've come here.
They're such obscure things that you just said. They were not what I was expecting.
Really?
No.
Good, that's what I'm hoping that's what you wanted. you
Yeah,
know?
of course. That's what we wanted. Definitely.
And Ryder's also one of the weird things about Australia that I love.
Ryder is a weird contribution to Australia, but we love you.
Thanks, guys.
So we were very intentional about not giving you much of an intro. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because there's so much more to a person than just what they've achieved professionally. And so what we love to do is to get every guest to do a bit of a non-bio intro. And so we're going to throw over to you to introduce who is Gina beyond all the incredible things that we'll probably talk a little bit more about today, but all the incredible things that you've done in your life professionally, but just who are you?
Okay, I love that. That's a great question. I am, wow, isn't it weird? Because you don't do it outside of work stuff. Especially as a woman, you don't really talk about yourself in a positive light. I am someone who cares like deeply about other people and about like society and about, I've got like a deep curiosity about society and the world. Like I'm just like, I'm naturally like that. I just really want to understand things. Maybe that's also something that makes me feel safer if I understand it. But I find the world and society and people and why they act deeply interesting. I'm also like a very silly person. Like I'm a very silly, jokey, extroverted person. And I think I get a lot of joy from life by being that person. And I'm also like a very loyal person. So I'm like someone who nothing matters apart from like my family and my friends. anyone that I care about, how people feel, dogs. Like I'm just that kind of person. I'm very like small circle, hope everyone's okay, deeply interested in the world, and just want to have fun and enjoy while I'm here. And that's kind of probably the best top line, I think.
Love that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for asking.
And you have a dog?
I have a dog called P and a tattoo of her name on my arm. People always think I just have this because it's my favourite vegetable, but it's my dog's name. She's gorgeous. Yeah, I have a schnoodle called P and she's just all the joy. She's bonkers and she's wonderful.
I love that. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Another way we try to get into the conversation is by asking you a question that we often get asked in society, which is, how are you? But we want to give you, how long are we going to give her?
90 seconds.
90 seconds to answer that question. But we're not going to interrupt or ask any follow-up questions. The time is yours.
Great. I say that with sarcasm.
Good.
The fear people feel over this question is so interesting.
It is interesting. How am I? When do I start?
Can I ask it?
Please.
Oh, sweet. Gina, how are you?
How am I? I'm okay. I'm going to go to this moment and this day first, probably. And I'm wobbly today. This work means doing this work and living my life in the way I live it means that I don't have like a equilibrium of my life. I don't have like a middle line that I'm kind of always at and things are kind of just how they are. It's very peaks and troughs in this work. So there are days where I struggle to show up. I'm probably on that today. Like as I talk about it, like I feel like I want to cry. How am I more broadly than today though, outside of the wobbly day? I think I'm actually in a really positive place outside of the wobbly day. I think I'm in a place where I'm kind of feeling like I know what I want to do and how I want to show up. And I feel more tethered to my instincts and my integrity and have done for about 6 months now. So I'm feeling strong in who I am generally and what I care about and what I believe in my work, but I'm feeling wobbly in my day-to-day, I think. And that probably is characterized by like feeling emotional, on the edge of tears, feeling maybe pessimistic, feeling not clear of thought or not clear of our articulation probably today. Yeah.
That was 90 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I killed that. Yes. Do I win?
Yes, you win the 90 seconds.
You win.
Yes.
No, you win the honesty. But
thank you.
Despite feeling wobbly and emotional, just thank you so much for articulating that so beautifully and for being with us today.
Of course.
It's a big reason why we want you on the show because we see you as a tomorrow person. You do such important, serious work, but then you're also so playful and bring so much joy to it as well. So we just love your emotional range of the way you're able to move through really complex, like a lot of complexity, but do so in such a kind of joyous way. And I think that brings people along with you. So yeah, thank you so much for
That's very kind to say. Thank you for saying that.
I have two questions. My first is, when you're having a wobbly day, like what helps you to still get up and do what you do?
Great. Guilt and shame. No, I'm joking. No.
It's very profound.
Yes. The end.
Yeah.
What helps me to get up and I don't know that I have like I've never felt like the aim of because I don't feel like this is my work. I feel like this is how I live my life.
Yeah.
Like I feel like everything I work on, everything I care about in this work is bigger than like me or any relationship or any one workplace or any one work day or anyone. It's just so much bigger than everything. It's like a commitment to something way bigger than anything contained or anything social or anything relational. So I've never felt like I can't get up and do the work. I think I'm resigned to the fact that like this is just why I'm here. There's no like I don't wake up and go like fuck, I don't want to do this work today. Like that never happens for some reason. I think it's just like maybe it's just how an artist wakes up and goes I have to paint. I don't know. Like it's just who I am.
Yeah.
But there's definitely days when I'm like I'm here for the work, but today's going to be a real slog to get through the work. And I think what helps me on those days is not doing what I used to do, which was ignoring it and just battling through it. That helped for a certain amount of years, and then I got really unwell because of it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a sustainable way to do the work. So now I think waking up, being honest about how I feel, putting in place a bunch of my processes, which are like therapy and journaling and exercise and all the annoying, boring stuff that people say works and it does. Like, why is everyone right? Yeah. I spent so many years being like, there's no way. Oh, right, it does. Cool. Or putting all those things in place and planning all those things, and then being really honest with the people around me about my capacity, because I've come to accept that my 50% is like enough. And I give like over my life and the months and weeks I work, I give like so much of myself that on the days that I can't do it, I'm just like, well, I just can't do it that well today. And that's still going to be fine.
Yeah.
So I think the like compassion and then the processes that I've put in place are how I get through those days probably.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think your 50% is more than most people's 100% from what I've seen in you. So yeah, I think you do an incredible job to live your life the way that you do.
Thank you.
So like Ryder said, you know, the podcast is all about looking at how do we become the people of tomorrow? And there's so much about what you're already doing that we believe is shaping you as someone that we see as a tomorrow person, like Ryder said. But obviously there's going to be moments over time that have happened to get you to where you are today, to be the person that you are, and that I'm sure you're still growing into, obviously. And we'd just love to hear from you, like, what has one of those life-defining moments been for you that you feel has shaped who you are today? And it might be, you know, something so small that you've only recognized recently to something really great and big, like a heartbreak, or it might be something that was a highlight or a challenge or whatever feels right for you, but just a life-defining moment for you.
Yeah, this is hard to pick. I think I've picked something that is maybe quite unrelatable, but when I'm able to explain what's behind it, I think it's something that we've all felt. In 2020, after I changed, because I changed the law in 2019 to make upskirting a sexual offence in England and Wales, and that came off like 2.5 years of kind of work every single day, 5 a.m. till 11 p.m. And I was working full time, and I was campaigning and running media campaigns and running political campaigns. I was in Parliament, and it was a unbelievable undertaking. And when the law changed in 2019, and we finally did that, and I was kind of in Parliament watching it when it happened, there was an enormous sense of relief. There wasn't really a sense of celebration. I think from everyone around me, there was a lot of celebration, but I never wanted to fight to change the law. I just felt like I had to because no one else was doing it. So there was a huge sense of relief. And then about 6 months later, maybe, after 6 months of lots of pedestaling of me, lots of media, lots of awards, lots of like fun, glamorous stuff that comes after doing something like that. Not for everyone, because not everyone's treated the same way depending on what law they change and depending on their identity. I received a message from like a peer, like a colleague who did something similar to me, worked in like climate justice, was an activist, essentially like calling me in and being like, hey, I know you really care about human rights, and I know you really care about women's rights, and I know you really care about, you know, Black women's rights and anti-racism and all of these things that are intersecting in this work, and you've talked about it. But many of the ways that you showed up in the campaign publicly were complicit with institutions that are deeply dangerous towards Black people and marginalised people in our country. So like the way I worked with the police, and like, you know, when you're working with the police and or the politicians and you're trying to get them to change things, I wasn't being myself in the media. I was saying things in the media that were very strategic, that were pre-decided by me and my team to try and get a reaction from a politician that we could then leverage the next time. I was playing the game because you have to. You can't just be yourself and change the law. That's not how it works. So I was working with conservatives who I hate. I hate their policies. I hated a lot of the people I was working with. They were morally bankrupt. They treated me like crap, and they treated people like crap, and they talked about regular people like crap. But they were in control of whether the law changed a lot or not. So I didn't have a coddling relationship with them. I wasn't blowing smoke up their ass, but I was working with them, and I couldn't go in the media and say, I hate these guys, they're morally bankrupt, because then the law would have never changed. So lots of the ways in which I showed up were, and had to be for the law to change, but were me being complicit with people who are really dangerous to a lot of people. And this activist kind of called me in and said, like, this isn't a call out. I just want to name that, like, you changed this law. It was really important to you. And now what comes after that, I guess I hope, is like reflection on how you engage with these institutions and these people that harm so many people and harm Black people, you know, disproportionately. And I remember being like, oh, I don't want to reply yet and I can't react in the reply. I need to go away, and like all of the initial feelings of like, and there was lots of criticism around the campaign from Black campaigners and Black community in the UK, very understandably, because I also became kind of a poster girl for what we call carceral feminism, which is a type of feminism that believes that if you just lock everyone up, everything will change. And actually, lots of the violence and harms that happen in institutions like prisons are to Black and brown people. And, you know, like, if this is about harm reduction, then no one's less likely to cause harm when they've been in those places. Actually, most men reoffend. Actually, most men, their mental health is worse. They cause harm to themselves and other people when they come out. These institutions have a vested interest in keeping prisons full. They're a for-profit system in the UK, biggest in Europe. So there was like lots of harm in those institutions and that system that I probably wasn't looking at close enough. And I kind of went away and went, oh my God, like, what does this mean this person thinks? Did they think, does that mean everything I've just gone through, you know, and the reality of campaigning is I was very unsafe because of men, and there was lots of threats on my life and stuff. So like, does that mean everything I've gone through was like, what I've done is harmful? There was all of those initial feelings coming up, and then I think I spent like 4 months unpacking it on my own and with other people, like just like reading stuff and like asking people questions and being like really upset and journaling on it and going to therapy and being like, what does this mean? Does this have to mean anything about me? Am I making it mean something about me? What's really valid about what this person has said? And like, I can't connect with it because I'm just like defensive, but I know it's real and I know it's true. So let me find a way to. And I think that conversation, that call-in, and the way that I was able to respond to that call-in probably changed my outlook on all of this work, on like all the work I will do in the future, on the way that I show up in this work, on what I think's what the priority in this work is for me, what's important, how I understand my own power and privilege, and how I'm able to go like, you can do something because you care about it and it can be important, and you can still be able to say, yeah, and there's also harm in the institutions I worked with, and I now don't want to work in criminalisation because I want to prevent instead. And it's completely shifted the way that I work, just that one call in. But it took months of self-work to be able to receive it, I think. And then I was able to go back to that person and be like, I really rate you call, because also call-ins like that are actually like an unbelievable, they're not an attack, like they're an unbelievable vote of confidence, I think, in a person's capacity.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think my colleague would have called me in like that if they didn't think I could have held it. And I think it feels like an attack, but it actually feels like well, no, I know that you can handle this, and I know that you will be able to receive it at some point, so I'm going to give that to you gently and in a loving way. Feels actually like a really big act of love in a way, because it's made me a better activist and a better person, that call in, but it was very uncomfortable for a while.
Absolutely.
I find that astonishing that, yeah, you've put so much work into however many years it was, and then you must have been so low in the tank, and then to receive that feedback.
Yeah.
Which then sent you into another 4 months of growing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it felt, what you're doing there.
Because I felt that in my guts when you got that
No,
feedback,
totally.
because it's so...
Because you're like, oh,
It's also that
I've done something wrong, or I'm bad, or yeah.
It's also that, you know, why you went down the path of changing the law is connected to something so personal for you.
Yeah, traumatic, yeah.
And so how did you disconnect even that experience from then taking on something like that? Which, you know, I agree with you. I think that I can imagine feeling all those feelings, and like it must have been so confusing, but the call in is so much nicer than a call out.
Correct.
And probably allowed you to go away and process it. But it's intrinsically linked to also, these personal experiences of yours. Yeah, how did you kind of, I know you journaled and did therapy, but like how did you kind of disconnect yourself from that and be able to like take that on? Maybe that's too big of a question.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's a really important one. Yeah, the campaign was linked to assault. So when you take something traumatic, I'm closing my eyes because I have to concentrate. I'm not falling asleep. when you have a traumatic experience and you're trying to metabolize that into an experience that's positive or creates change, there was for me. There was a separation. There had to be a separation between the trauma itself and then the thing I'm trying to create. There was a moment when I actually had to choose. Do I fight the police on my case or do I fight the government on the law? And I remember having a conversation about this, like which one's more important. At no point, weirdly, did I go, which one's more realistic, which is strange. I don't think I thought either of them was going to work out because the police were so terrible with me. They were so, to give context, when I was upskirted, I was upskirted at a festival by a guy. The picture was shared around me, so all these guys were looking at it around me in the crowd and I could see them. And I managed to snatch the phone, the picture, get hold of the guy, like we got into a bit of a scrap, and then some guys helped me run away and I ran to the police with the phone, the picture, one of the guys chasing me, and when I handed all that into the police, they went, there's nothing we can do. And actually told me that if I'd chosen not to wear knickers, I'd be able to prosecute because it would be a graphic image, but because I chose to wear knickers, they can't do anything, which is, obviously you get told your entire life to wear more clothes.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I actually did all the things that society manipulates women to believe they have to do to be taken seriously. And I'd heard that was my third police case when I was upskirted. So I didn't believe I could solve my case through the police. I also didn't believe I could change the law, but I knew which one was more important because one was structural and one was individual.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, one's for all of us and one's for me. So I'm probably going to do the all of us one. And I think that allowed me to separate from the trauma of the assault and metabolize it into something meaningful in my head, make meaning out of it for myself and for everyone else. So when the call-in came, after I changed the law, I had a relative ability to be able to also because I was working in politics, which, if I'll be honest, is incredibly good at making you separate your emotions from from not reality. Your emotions are the only reality, but from what you have to do in any given moment to be able to make something happen. And I'd kind of that ability to hold my emotions in one hand, and then I'm very good at that. I'm also come from a family of very secure attachment and very loving family where I don't think I've ever, as a child, really had to numb my emotions or put them away. So I think I have a capacity generally because of my life and my relationships to be able to hold my emotions and still not be flooded and still be able to operate. But then also through that work, I'd done a lot of separating my emotions from other things. So when the calling came, I was I felt that feeling of I don't know how to explain it, but when I get called in on stuff and I feel, I've messed up. I feel like I don't want to be in my own skin. I feel like I'm crawling in my own skin. I'm I'm so what have I done? I feel so uncomfortable. And I had all that. But I kind of knew that if I was able to connect with what this person was talking about on a human level, not in a theory level, okay, institutions cause harm in this way. But if I was able to connect with stories of people who had gone through harm at the hands of those institutions and black women who had dealt with the police and, men who had been incarcerated for very little and all of these things, and then really connect with them on a human level and then also look at the structural and understand how that whole system worked, I would see the truth of the situation that this person was talking about and be able to not really argue with it. I can't really argue with that's an objective truth. They have a vested interest in incarcerating people. A system of capitalism relies on poverty, patriarchy, and trauma to create situations in which people commit crime and then incarcerate them for it. And they have no interest in rehabilitating people. Yeah. They have capitalism doesn't have an interest in what a human need. It has an interest in profit. So understanding that system and then also connecting with human experiences was I actually can connect with these people. Yeah. In their experiences of trauma, because I've had experiences of trauma, and although they are very different, that's the most important thing. That has to be, because that's the reason I started the work. Yeah. So it was finding the connection between why I started the work and what I care about, and Black people's experiences and how they have been treated, and being like, that's more important than how I feel in this moment.
Yeah.
Everyone being like, that doesn't matter. And just giving myself the time to work through that. Like being a good enough activist to be like, okay, it's going to take time. I'm going to feel gross, and I don't have to, this isn't about me, and I don't have to make it about me, but I'm going to feel all that stuff, and I'll do that in private, and I'll do that in a way that isn't harmful to other people. And then I will try, when I feel like I've done enough of that, I will try to come to a conversation, learn more about it, and try and figure out where I go from there and be okay with that uncertainty, which is very uncomfortable. But that's how you become a better person, I think.
What did that activist teach you about calling in? Because it sounds like it was, was it a face-to-face?
It was not. It was a message. And I probably would have preferred a face-to-face, which they probably know. But who knows, in a face-to-face, I could have been like, yeah, you're probably right, and then cried and left. So, ultimately also, I don't know that at that point, I don't know if I would have been the best receiver of a calling in person, which might have actually been, as this person's a Black woman, I was like, probably wouldn't have been good for them to sit with a white woman who was in her feelings. Most of the things I've learned in this work are from Black women. And there was a level of like compassion in that call in, even though there was things that were really hard to me. It made me go like, oh, that's possible. We can do that if we really want to do it that way. And because I saw how I was able to receive and respond to it, both in private and with them, then I felt like, oh, that's how I want to do that in the future. You wouldn't have, they wouldn't have got that response out of me if they hadn't called me in that way. And they weren't coddling. They were quite straight to the point. But they did it in a way that was like, I knew they had respect for me. I knew they had compassion for me. And I also felt that through the fact that they'd done it in the first place. Because I was like, other people can't, you probably don't know that other people can hold this. And you're probably hoping I can, but there's no guarantee. I could have turned around but they were brave enough to say that thing. I think they just taught me that compassion is the root of it and nuance. They didn't say like, this thing's bad. They were like, hey, the way this, but also this, and I understand this, but I need you to know this. And it was like they tried to cover all of it. And that made it feel human.
Is that something you now practice?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had, I think it's something that exhausts me. And I think it's something that I consistently commit to, is I don't think I've ever had a conversation with someone who I felt disappointed by or hurt by or unsafe or whatever in a way. I don't think I've ever done that in a way. No, actually, I should probably re-articulate that. I think I've always done that. I've instinctively and intentionally tried to do that in a way that gets the best out of it for both of us. Because again, like I was going back to what I said before, it's not about either of us. It's about the movement. Like I don't understand this work in an individual context. Like everything is about what's best for everyone, what's best for the movement, what's best for the outcomes. It's actually not about me and you. It's about, there's an element of that, of course, but it's about what we create together. And actually, I think the basis of all of the problems we have is that the system that we exist within is intent on dividing us based on experiences and identity and all different types of things. All of these things were created. So I think one of the most radical things you can do is create spaces in which you refuse to let the system do that. And I think difficult conversations and calling people in is one of the greatest skills at that.
What's like one kind of, so for people that are listening, that's a difficult thing.
Huge, yeah. For me too.
Absolutely. And you're obviously in spaces where obviously, like you're saying, it's not about the individual, it's about the whole. And so I imagine you're having lots of those conversations all of the time. For someone listening that's just like, I want to do this in my life, but like, where do I begin? How would you?
Yeah, all of that starts with you. It doesn't start with the conversation. It doesn't start with preparation for the conversation. It doesn't start with how you go into one or what you do in the room. Loretta J. Ross didn't coin, but popularized calling in after a student that she'd worked with had used it in an essay or in some work that they'd worked on. And she always talks about if you want to use calling in your life, the first thing you have to do is call yourself in, because you are an embodiment of all the things you've gone through in your life and all the traumas you've experienced. And if you can't call yourself in on those things and be like, where am I dysregulated? Where am I projecting? Like, in this work, I spend a lot of time healing my trauma at the hands of men so that I can show up for men.
Yeah.
Like that's a big part of my work is being like, how do I make sure that I'm there for men, even though men have continuously hurt me all the way through my life? So like that's me calling myself in. It's like, how am I going to like make sure that I'm not just like a walking wound that's just like bleeding on all the men around me? Like that's a really hard part of the work. And that might be different for someone. That might be someone who lives under racism or anti-blackness. That might be someone who is queer and has been through a lot. But how do we like get to the point where we have the emotional capacity to be able to even start to think about what that looks like? Well, it's actually about the healing of yourself first.
Yeah.
It's about you being able to figure out why you get dysregulated in certain circumstances, or why certain conversations are so hard to have, or the rage and anger you have. In my case, as a woman, have I given myself a load of space for that? Now, yeah. Didn't a long time ago and couldn't call people in.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Talking about that fellow activist who gave you the feedback, I'd love to move into what you see as a tomorrow person, because it sounds like that person, created a massive kind of shift or a part of your growth and evolution. But what is a tomorrow person to you?
I think there's a couple of things coming up as you ask it. And I think they're all around a similar concept, which is, for me, all the people I know who would be in the category as tomorrow people are people who are able to imagine something different for everyone. They can actually imagine it. Not like in the abstract, oh, I want equality, or like I want the what, but they can actually imagine what that might look like. They spend the time understanding other people who have changed things before. Like they move in a way, they behave in a way, they think in a way, they're accountable to themselves in a way that's like, how do I live every day, my values, and therefore become like an embodiment of like the world I want to live in or the society I want to live in. Like they're doing that now. Because I think there's a lot of like, what do you want the world to be like, or what do you want society to be like? And I don't understand how any of that happens unless we start living living that into reality rather than talking about it. So I think tomorrow people for me are people who are living in a way that is in alignment with the society they want to exist within. So like, do you want to be someone do you want to live in a society where difference is celebrated? That's a really easy thing to say. But are you someone who is like actively working on their biases around how they respond to people who are different than them, and therefore, and living into reality, being someone who has empathy for people who are totally different from them? That's different to saying it. So I think it's the person who's trying to live the better version of our society into reality. And that's the activists and the educators and the writers that I know. They're doing things in different ways. They're not talking about it, they're being about it all the time.
Are there people that come to your mind, like that you're like, they really do that you could share that other people could follow? Or
Yeah, I think Richie Reseda. He's a abolitionist and educator and producer and creative in America. He's probably most well known because he founded Success Stories, which is a program for incarcerated men, a feminist program for incarcerated men. He didn't just talk about how do we get free from this system. He literally created a mechanism for it in prisons and creating environments where men were rehabilitating themselves out of patriarchy. And the man walks around using the words patriarchy, using the word feminism, doing work that is transforming people's lives. And I see people call him out on social media for language he uses, and he's always like, cool, thank you for that. Like, I hadn't thought, he's just so at peace with himself. He's not, he knows who he is. He's been through so much, and he's able to live a society that he wants to see into reality every day. And I just think they're the coolest people. I just think people who are able to like operate in a way that the system tells them not to are the coolest people I've ever met. Like, I'm like, everything's telling you to not do that. And you're like, no, because it's the right thing to do. I'm like, that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, I love that.
If you were to scale it back, who's a tomorrow person that maybe isn't doing things as transformative?
Great question. God, that is so...
What's coming up?
There's like lots of people for lots of different reasons. So I'm kind of like, and then I'm noticing myself like censor which reasons are not like, oh, is that? Or is, I'm trying to figure out, 'cause there's a bunch of different people for different reasons. I think there's just like so many people that I know in my life who are just regular people living their lives, everyday people. But I think they're purple.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry, give me a sec.
Yeah. You want me to keep going or pause?
Maybe pause.
Yeah. Just be like, cut, blue.
Yeah, blue. My friend,
Where are we?
we're
Nearly
coming to
here.
the wrap. Yeah.
Cool.
So I think Braden's controlling it from the other room. 'Cause he's trying to
Oh,
work.
that makes
I think he's
sense.
trying to work inside there. So I'll go get him for a sec.
Okay.
My friend Violet.
Yeah, yeah.
She is just. Thanks.
Violet. The blue's intense.
What was it before?
It's like being in a.
Well, it was more red. Oh, yeah, because you can't find your veins.
Mm.
I don't even remember it before. It says trans rights. Actually, it's funny because I was about to say someone, a trans person that I know, and it went blue and pink. Wow, it knew.
What does that mean?
Well, at least you'll be able to think of your person.
Yeah, I've got time.
Yeah.
It's different.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah. That feels
Oh, is
more
that
familiar.
That's
is
better. Yeah, that's oh, I see. Yeah, that's much better.
We rolling? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we can
Good.
keep going.
Oh, sweet.
I think what's coming up for me is not an individual person, but just like friends and people I know in my life, with regular jobs, doing their thing, who are having to live in a society that tells them that they're wrong or because of their identity. So I'm thinking about like a friend of mine who's trans. I'm thinking about a friend of mine who's black in London, and just being like, these people operate in a way in which they have to consistently advocate for themselves all the time and other people. And I don't think, as a white person, I don't think I've had to operate in that way in my life.
Mhm.
And I think those are the people I look to as tomorrow people, because I'm like, they're refusing to accept what the current state of play is.
Mm.
They're pushing back on that every day, just in the way that they show up in their life,
Mm.
just in the way that they are.
Yeah.
And I think there's something, that's kind of something everyone can choose to do, regardless of their identity, is be someone that goes like, I actually believe this thing, and I actually think this is wrong, or I think this is right, or I think this is, I think that's really important. I think that makes you a tomorrow person, because I think you're asking for something better. I think you're rewriting tomorrow through your social interactions, through your relationships, through your beliefs. And I think anyone can do that.
Yeah.
It just takes a level of bravery, but I think finding that bravery is also possible if you have all the right people around you.
Yeah.
If you're able to pour the right amount of time into yourself. It's just society works really hard to make you not brave.
Yeah. What's one parting thing you want to give to people around? Like, what is one small step that would help people be brave?
Analyze your friendship groups and your relationships. I think we can say, when we talk about masculinities, we can say men should talk about their feelings. But if you've got 8 people around you who are your best mates and they don't do it and they don't open up space for it, it's actually really hard. You can say like, be brave and use your voice. But if your friendship groups are, whenever you mention that you quite liked this person in the media who was like standing up for the right thing, and they go like, oh, she's a bit, you're going to go, cool, I'm not going to talk about that stuff as much anymore. I think you have to have people around you where you can process your principles and your political voice and your beliefs and your bravery, because we process that through speaking and through relationships. And if you don't have those people, it's really hard. So analyze your friendship group and go, are these people, have they got me when I'm at my loudest, when I'm most opinionated, when I'm at my most vulnerable, have they got me through all of that? Or are they people who make me feel a bit bad about myself? Because you need that core to practice that before you can start to do it in the world, I think.
Love that.
Gina, this is so much. Just thank you for I don't know, sharing some of your vision and the steps and the conversations and the work that went into kind of, paving. It's the journey will never kind of, it's an ongoing journey, but thank you for helping us understand so much complexity, but also have hope in, being a part of the change that needs to happen.
Thank you.
I learned a heap out of this. I'm like, oh my God, this is making me think about the way that I parent, and I'm going into some some parent thoughts. But thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Gina.
And also, sorry, just as you said, you were feeling like rattled today, and just really appreciate you kind of being so open and powerful for us.
I'm always open and powerful.
It's my bread and butter.
Mic drop.
While crying.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tomorrow People Podcast. Urban Decay Site.